The Kabutarkhana Rawai Mumbai's pigeon feeding sites have become a flashpoint. Hundreds of people mainly from the Jain community gathered at the Dadar Kabutarkhana in the wee hours of Thursday, defying a Bombay High Court order that banned pigeon feeding at all Kabutarkhanas and directed closure of these sites. Protesters forcibly tore off the tarpaulin cover placed over the heritage feeding station by the BMC, climbed the bamboo barricades, and scattered grains to feed pigeons despite a strict prohibition. Tensions erupted after police intervened to disperse the crowds. Meanwhile, fines totaling about Rs68,700 have been collected from 142 individuals across Mumbai Kabutarkhanas including Dadar, where 61 fines alone were issued for violations between July 13 and August 3. Nanane Bombay High Court, ruling dated July 31, ordered the closure of all pigeon feeding zones Kabutarkhanas in Mumbai, citing public health hazards due to pigeon droppings, respiratory illnesses such as pigeon lung, and complaints of nuisance and heritage damage. The BMC followed by covering sites with tarpaulin, barricading them and posting warnings. Feeding in public was barred, and fines were mandated against violators. However, the practice of feeding pigeons at designated Kabutarkhanas has deep cultural and religious roots, especially for the Jain and Gujarati communities, who view it as an act of Jivadaya and a pious ritual tied to ancestral blessings. Therefore, the health vs belief conflict has triggered a strong pushback. Nanan Mumbai has around 44 to 51 Kabutarkhanas across the city, mostly near Jain temples or transit hubs. On July 31, the High Court ordered closure of 51 feeding spots, and the BMC had initiated action at 44 of them so far including Dadar, Xamtpo, Kar, among others. Nanan several reasons have been cited for shutting the Kabutarkhanas across Mumbai. And overall, the court viewed the practice as public nuisance and ordered civic action and criminal penalties for violation. Nanan Jain community members and local trusts call pigeon feeding a sacred, ajald practice promoting compassion and non-violence. The Dadar Kabutarkhana Trust and Jain bodies led protests, spiritual gatherings, and raised alarms over pigeon starvation and deaths with claims of 980 pigeon deaths at Dadar alone. Some animal welfare activists have also questioned the scientific basis for health risks and demand humane alternatives rather than outright bans. Nanan Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis expressed reservations about an abrupt and blanket ban. He chaired an urgent meeting on Tuesday with key ministers and BMC officials and instructed the BMC to allow controlled feeding in designated Kabutarkhanas temporarily. He also asked officials to conduct a scientific study on health risks and define feeding timings and protocols, and invest in mechanized cleaning of pigeon droppings and infrastructure sanitization. Fadnavis also asked BMC to continue supplying a regulated quantity of grains, provide water, and avoid pigeon starvation until a long-term plan is ready. He insisted public health and bird life both must be safeguarded and hinted the government would appear in court if needed to support its position. Maharashtra Minister Mangal Prabhat Ladha called the Dadar protest unfortunate, distanced the local Jain temple trust from instigating it, and appealed for calm. He supported the idea of temporary supervised feeding zones, and urged dialogue with BMC on a middle path approach. Swipe left for next video. Deputy CM Ajit Pawar, present at the meeting, echoed the CM's stance on balancing health and religious traditions through regulated measures rather than abrupt bans. The Kabutarkhana issue pits public health concerns and urban sanitation against religious sentiment, cultural tradition, and animal welfare values. The Bombay High Court's strict ban and the BMC's enforcement covering feeding sites, fines, first touched off large protests peaking at the Dadar Kabutarkhana. Latest blogs.